And now, Brandon Thick Boy Schaub.
Well, hello, friends. Welcome back. We missed last week. I haven't missed in a hot freaking second, and we missed last week. I was in Miami working, but your boy's back. Missed you guys. How's everybody doing? Wasn't a bad week to miss. There ain't a ton of crap going on. I mean, there's a fight every weekend, but, there's one to miss. Let's be honest. It wasn't bad. Wasn't bad. And what have I missed since we've been gone? Boy, your boy Bryce Mitchell sent some interesting words on his first episode of his podcast. We'll see how long that lasts. I get it. I mean, oof. And then Conor was like, "Oh, you're pro-Hitler? Hold my beer. I'm going to use the N-word and go hard in the paint against Khabib." So it's the Real Housewives of the UFC. I always tell you guys this. So much drama, always something. A lot of different flavors in this soup we call MMA, the UFC world. And sometimes you're not going to like the way that soup tastes. Sometimes that soup gets dark. Not going to lie to you guys. That soup gets really dark and toxic. Still love it, though. Still love it. With Bryce Mitchell, I'm sure you can have it in your current events, Jim, but I'll just knock it out at the top here because it's kind of old news by now. We're here on a Monday. With Bryce Mitchell, I don't think Bryce is like some evil kid, and I think Bryce is a product of the current society obsession with social media. I don't think he has a background in history, especially when it comes to World War I and World War II and Hitler and Germany, for that matter. I think he's homeschooled, if that's right, or he dropped out of school early. Point is he's not the most educated dude to give these hot takes. That's fine, freedom of speech. He's welcome to say what he wants to say, but you just got to be ready for the repercussions when you say some wild crap like he said. So I'm not defending Bryce in any facet, but I think you guys need to realize that this is a kid. He is a kid. This is a kid who probably is on social media, and his algorithm, for better or worse, is filled with this narrative that he is kind of pushing, and there's much smarter people than him pushing this narrative, and you see it a lot more these days. And I think he decided to do a podcast, and to make some traction, he decided to say these things about Hitler, and he got traction. That's what he's looking for. He got traction, but he got it in the wrong way. And I think he didn't realize how big of a blowback he was going to get. And because the world he's in on social media, he sees a lot of people saying this. And, the rhetoric, the stuff that he was kind of regurgitating, none of this is original either. It's all regurgitated information that he got off probably Twitter and the algorithm, or X, for God's sakes, and this algorithm that he keeps seeing every day. So I'm assuming in his mind, he's like, yeah, this is the narrative. There's nothing wrong with it. I've seen these other people say it. I'm just going to regurgitate what they said, making my own opinion, see how it goes. And boy, he found out the hard way. I'm not surprised. MMA is you're dealing with cage fighters. We're not the most educated bunch. I have 2 college degrees. I'm a dumbass, but I'm one of the rare guys with a college education. There's some few. Kenny Florian. There's some smart ass dudes, but for the guys that are just spurting out and spewing this wild shit, man, part of the gig. I do think it's interesting. Like, in the hardcores out there, you guys have been following MMA, especially the UFC, before the pandemic. Some of you are new, so you're like, what? There's been some horrible shit that's been said from fighters. The only thing that surprised me is how fast Dana nipped this in the butt. It's exactly what he should have done. I'm just surprised because there's been worse things. That's all relative. There's been some horrible shit said. Fighters have done some horrible shit, you know. There's been some, you know, anti-Muslim stuff. Also, I mean, you guys know. For those of you who've been following the sport long enough, there's been some horrible stuff said. But Dana's really never addressed it. Maybe in the post-fight press conference, they'll bring it up and he'll be like, that kid's an idiot, and then move on. This was very swift. He was there to talk about slap fight, which no one gives a fuck about. So, and I'm not saying Dana shouldn't have done anything. He definitely needs to address it because this kind of took the world by storm. You know, anyone that says this, especially a famous fighter, you want to address it, and obviously he stands behind freedom of speech. But also, you got to realize who owns the UFC and why he acted so swiftly. The UFC is owned by a Jewish man. You know, so I think he would have come out more swiftly. Like, say the UFC was owned by a black guy, certain times he would come out. Like with Conor stuff, he would address that if the UFC was owned by a black guy. If the UFC was owned by a Muslim guy, he would come out, some things Sean Strickland has said. So most was like, yeah, good for Dana, but also it's good for business. Don't get it twisted. And there's nothing wrong with that. He's a businessman. And maybe saying you want to fish with Hitler and he wasn't such a bad guy is probably the worst shit said, but there's been some this isn't new, guys. There's been some horrible shit said from all the years in fighting, and he's never really mentioned it. The reason he mentioned it this time, you know, the UFC is owned by a Jewish man, so it's good for business. They're not. They basically, if you don't think Dana has a boss, he does. He does. I know, fuck the man, all that stuff. He answers to somebody. He does. That's the deal they made. So I was the only thing I was surprised is how fast he came out, and then I thought about it, I'm like, oh, there's a reason why I did that. There's a reason. Because there's been some horrible shit said. Have you heard him say anything about Conor using the N-word or saying Khabib fucks, you know, is incest and all that stuff and the anti-Muslim stuff and calling him terrorist and shit like that? No. He used it to build the fight. You know, so it's good for business. It's good for business. The freedom of speech thing's interesting too, isn't it? Freedom of speech is super interesting. It's complicated. I'm not the guy to figure this out. I'm sure I'm not. Freedom of speech is interesting because the UFC prides itself on freedom of speech, but then it's not freedom of speech, really, is it? If you watch the press conferences. Because then why isn't Luke Thomas in there asking you questions about fighter pay or, you know, a certain matchup or, you know, certain business aspects and the antitrust lawsuit? Why did Ariel get banned for announcing, you know, a fight that he was told he could announce, and he's banned for life? You know, it's freedom of speech if you're on their team, because that freedom of speech is aligned with their thinking. Now, I'm far from the left. You know, I can't stand those people and some of their agendas. But if you're going to be freedom of speech, then you got to have people in there that don't agree with you and are going to call you out on your bullshit. But you got rid of all those people. Those people don't exist anymore. They exist online in their own businesses, but as far as being credentialed media, you don't allow them in there. That's not freedom of speech. That's not freedom of speech. If you had freedom of speech, you'd have everyone in there. Whether they disagree with you or not, you're going to have them in there, and they can voice their opinion, and then you can, you know, respond to their criticism or whatever. But when you get rid of all that, well, you're taking their voice away. Now, they can still do it on their own channels, but you're the UFC. You're the biggest in the business. You're only allowing in people that will not ruffle any feathers and will push whatever. You got most of the credentialed media out there be like, slap fight's amazing, man. Those athletes. When we're all like, the real ones are like, what the what? That's not freedom of speech. You've made it so you only have people that will toe the line and not push back in any facet credentialed. It'd be freedom of speech if you had Luke Thomas in there, Il Hawani, some of those real motherfuckers, the actual journalists in there who are like, quick question, and then probably bring up some stuff you guys don't want to talk about. But you can't call it freedom of speech when you've eliminated anybody with opposing views. That's not freedom of speech. That's favoritism at its finest. When he goes, next question, they know what the fuck it is. Dana, you're the best. Oh my, I can't believe you gave us this card. Thank you. What are we doing? That's not journalism. So that's my only pushback is when you tell me freedom of speech is number one. Yeah, but you've eliminated anybody. You won't allow them to even enter the building that have a different opinion. It's not really freedom of speech. It's freedom to speak as long as you toe the line. That's not freedom of speech. So it's interesting. But they're crushing it. So what the fuck do I know? The fuck do I know? Yeah, and Connor's stuff, it's tough.
Just to add with the Bryce Mitchell stuff, he wasn't homeschooled, but he said he would homeschool his kids. So that's
Bingo, yeah.
Oh, so they don't turn gay and stuff, right?
pretty much.
He did say something
Yeah, he
like
did
that.
say something like that.
And then he also, so he did graduate from like a traditional high school and then went on to some place called Harding University with an
Check out
economics
that big
degree.
brain on Brad.
Economics degree. It's a private Christian university.
So that's the other thing too. Remember, Bryce is a Southern boy. Was he Arkansas? So his perspective when it comes to gays, all this stuff, brought up super religious. Some of the most religious people I know are the most narrow-minded people I've ever met. Some are great. I'm just saying in my experience. I'm not just putting everybody in a box as religious, but they're the most judgmental people I know. I have family members. My grandma's super judgmental towards people, and she's the most religious person I know. But remember, Bryce is a fact. He's not a bad person. He's not a bad dude. He's not at all. But what Bryce is, he's in this bubble, and he's the perfect storm of grown up super religious, which most of those super religious people don't mess around with the gay stuff. And then, so when he's seen online, where it's really not that bad, it's not good. But when he sees online, like the transgender stuff and pushing this and, there's these safe rooms where kids can come out if they're gay or trans. So when he's constantly seeing that in his algorithm or on the news, he's like, oh, and you remember, he's a religious dude. He's like, what the fuck? The world's turned to shit. So he's just this byproduct of that. Most people are going to write him off. Can't wait to see him fight next and get his ass whooped. But you got to step back a little bit and just be like, eesh. The kid is a product of the current climate we're living in. And he decided to get on a podcast and say he wants to go fishing with Hitler. He's also trying to start a podcast where there's literally 1 billion podcasts. I get it, brother. I do it all the time. It's tough. But you don't want to make the headlines for the wrong reasons. You don't. The UFC thought about cutting him to this magnitude. They've never done it before. They've never thought about cutting a guy over words. But when you bring up Jews, now you got their attention for a variety of reasons. I'm not just saying Dana did it just because his boss is Jewish, but when the guy that owns your company is Jewish and you're going after them, you're going to issue an apology. So he put out, I'm sorry I sounded insensitive. I definitely was not trying to offend anybody, but I know I did. I know that a lot of people died in the Holocaust, and that's a fact. Hitler did a lot of evil things. I think we can all agree on that. He's like, but I'd still go fishing with him. I'm definitely not a Nazi and definitely do not condone any of the evil things Hitler did. Bobby King Green put, love you, Bryce. I know you mean well, even when it doesn't come out right. Yeah, that's what happens, dude. That's what happens. Again, I don't think he's a bad person. I just think, again, he doesn't have any perspective on the history of Germany, World War I, World War II, And he's regurgitating something he heard people that he thinks is smart say. That's all that is. And he's on a podcast. He's a wild dude. We've had him on here. And remember we were talking about mass shootings, and he was like, oh, it's all, they have a special team that does it. I'm like, whoa, I'm going to stop you there, dude. Whoa, buddy. You ever seen some of those parents talk about losing their child? Buddy. Yeah. He's educated by YouTube and X. And this is what you get. Again, not giving him a pass, but he's not some evil kid who's going to push this agenda. Let's take a little break, kids, and we'll jump right back into this Real Housewives of the UFC episode. When you think about that businesses that are selling through the roof, you're talking Allbirds, Skims, Dry Fast All Gas. Sure, you think about great products, cool brands, brilliant marketing, but often overlooked is the secret that is actually the businesses behind the businesses making businesses sell for businesses simple for millions of businesses. That's business is Shopify. It's fun to say business a lot. Shopify. We're powered by Shopify, Dry Fast All Gas. Couldn't be easier. I've worked with a ton of companies. None are better than Shopify. From the back store, all the numbers you get, the analytics, nobody does selling better than Shopify. Home of the #1 checkout on the planet. And the not so secret, the Shop Pay that boosts conversions up to 50%. That's a big deal. Meaning way less carts going abandoned and way more sales going on. Cha-ching. So if you're into growing your business, your commerce platform, better be ready to sell wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling, on the web, in the store, in their feed, and everywhere in between. Business that sell more, sell with Shopify. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout as Dry Fast All Gas, as Skims, all the big dogs. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/Schaub, all lowercase, SCHAB, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/Schaub, all lowercase, to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/Schaub, all lowercase. Cha-ching. Yeah, and then Conor flew off the handles.
It all stemmed from that whole Paul Hughes thing with the Khabib Nurmagomedov, when he was like, I'm not like that other guy, I'm different. So it stemmed from that. And it just got,
did Khabib tweet this?
No, this is Conor's tweet, but I think Usman Nurmagomedov and Paul Hughes fought. Paul Hughes is like the next big thing in Irish MMA.
So good.
Yeah.
His takedown offense is unreal.
He did extremely well against him as well.
Extremely well.
But then they had this conversation afterwards.
But Conor was kind of poo-pooing on him, right? He wasn't bigging him up.
But they were cool before.
Yeah, he was like, I looked up to you, man. Mm-hmm. I don't get this. What's the highlight part up there, Jim?
This is what Conor said after he heard Paul Hughes talking to Nurmagomedov.
McGregor saw the clip and responded and deleted X post. He always deletes it. It's like,
I know.
Too right. You're not. The former UFC champion followed his Scott with more insults, telling Hughes to get the flag off. You little know what you are.
The
C word from up there.
From Northern Ireland. It's like
they got problems.
But the clip was just very it's cool. It's like, I'm not like that guy. I respect, all you guys. Because, obviously Conor doesn't seem to respect the Dagestanis, right? So,
yes.
So, yeah. And then they're talking about how, if they would have their kids, fight, who would be the better, fighters. And then they went back and forth. It stemmed from that, but then it got crazy because Conor ended up tweeting this.
15 minutes, I done auto in 15 seconds. Show yo wife, N-word. Show yo kids, N-word. Did Dana say anything about this?
I didn't hear anything.
Nothing. Cousin effing, mother effing, hiding mother effing. Show us you and your cousin's kids together because we have kids in Ireland that want to smoke them in competition. Are they competing or what are you saying? Ireland versus Dagestan? What's your offspring? We can't wait to see them. The best of Dagestan offspring? Dagestan, what do we think? Is this true? Who's next? Because Fatso with the coach whistle won't fight. Who won the fight designated this F bitch as master father. Certainly not his own father. Yeesh. And they all know it in Dagestan. Dagestan thinks you are pussy lips for retiring. I don't think so. Real Dagestan is forever. You are laughed at behind your back in Dagestan. Lazy you are, they say. Fight me and make $100 million and give it to the entire village of Dagestan, but you won't. Why? Fat, lazy, scared biatch, lazy fatso.
I should remember we did talk about how Khabib was saying about Ireland doesn't have that great fighters or something like that. So that's also part of this as well.
Yeah, probably pissed Conor off. My thing is with Conor, it's like he's talking about Ireland, which includes North and South, right? You got Paul Hughes, who's this amazing talent, probably the best talent to come out since Ian Gary out of there. Ian Gary's a little tricky because, right, he represents Brazil too. He kind of fucked that up and took his wife's middle name, whatever. Paul Hughes, like the next, he's the guy. I know he's not in the UFC. I wish he was, but he's like the next guy. And then Conor's putting him down. Like Conor doesn't build these guys up. You know, that's the bummer. His thing with Khabib would hold so much more leverage if he beat him. You know, he did great against him, better than most people against Khabib. Don't get it twisted. Like, and he was injured and fucking around for that fight camp, and you know, say what you want. Like, he did work in that fight.
For the audio listeners, Brendan's reading Conor's.
He mentioned young fighters in Nation vs. Nation context, so now the children he has with a cousin wife are targets for said competition, as are my own gorgeous, healthy children. We are ready for this war. Islands fighters are training hard, and believe me when I say this.
Let's show more. This is never over. That's what he said. Oops.
Yeah, the problem is they fought, and it was over. You know? It'd be one thing if they never fought and we're always wondering what would happen, but they fought.
This is interesting as well. He was saying, you know, he married his cousin, but then their country's, you know, their area is so small. It's like there's going to be some sort of blood, you know, connection.
Lap over.
Yeah, I mean, but I don't know how true this is. That's just what I'm reading.
I know. Yeah, I don't. The whole thing is weird. Conor just takes a different level, but this is fine. Dan's like, "Do you, dog?"
He even, I don't know.
But if he had a Dagestanian boss who owned the UFC, guaranteed he comes out and says something. I think you just, it's tough. If Dana can't just say something all the time. Now, I'll tell you what's going to happen. I will promise you this, and who knows if Strickland's going to abide by this recommendation. Guarantee you the brass at UFC's telling Strickland, bud, we just dealt with a whole shit storm because Bryce Mitchell said some wild shit. Do you, but be cool. Leading into this fight against DDP, be fucking cool. I don't know if Strickland can, you know?
He's been pretty chill as of late, though. I haven't seen him do anything crazy.
Have you seen some of his tweets? I mean, Strickland's against Strickland. You know, that's why people love him. But they're telling him, like, hey, dude, do your thing, but also don't do your thing. Let's see if Strickland listens. Yeah, Conor gets dark with it, man.
Yeah.
He just hates Dagestani so much, doesn't he?
I think he's just in a weird place, man. He's
in a tough spot.
Drugged out, I think.
He's in a tough spot.
Yeah.
He's in a very tough spot. What do you think, Case? We're the McGregor fans.
I know. I was talking to Case about that, too.
Yeah, we were talking about it's just it's a bummer. It's just like I was telling Chin, I used to like throw on all of his training stuff on the YouTube and on the treadmill, and I'd be like, training. I don't have any of that anymore. All the Conor stuff is all bad for years. It's like it's not as inspiring anymore. It's just dark and like dumb.
Yeah. Like you said, if he would have beat Khabib, it's like, all right, do your thing, rub it in, but he didn't. So it's just, you know, like, won't you fight me, you pussy? It's like, you guys fought, man. We've seen it. Unfortunately, he lost. He put up a good showing. I'll give you that. A great takedown defense, okay? But we've seen it. If he would have beat him, or if it never happened, like, this might have more gravity. Conor's in a tough spot.
Yeah. I mean, like, the last positive Conor thing we had, if you're a Conor fan, was him beating Cowboy in 2021.
It's tough.
It's been 4 years. It's just all bad.
It's been all bad. And apparently in Ireland, his name's just like wrecked. He's like O.J. Simpson out there, you know? But in America, like most people aren't even paying attention to any of this. The whole, you know, that his whole trial and all, like they have no clue. They have no clue. And then he's not fighting Jake Paul. He's not fighting Logan Paul. Like that's not happening. I don't know. It's probably over. And then Dana at the press conference, they asked him, he's like, it used to be like he'd give you a little carrot, dangle it. So he'd be like, oh, here we go, a little hope. He's like, I don't know, man.
Yep.
Even he's just, I fucking know. Yeah. It's not happening anytime soon.
Yeah, the potential Chandler stuff was fun for we milked that for like a year.
Yeah, that gave us hope for about a year.
Yeah.
And it's like, all right, well, that's not happening, is it? I don't know. You got a lot of fights going on, though. Let's get into this past weekend. Now, you see most people who enjoy fighting before this card happened, they went, this fight night, low-key, better than 312 pay-per-view. Prove me wrong. You might be right on paper. This card was fucking terrible. I woke up. I'm up anyway, so let's not pat me on the back. But I was up at 4:30, and I was like, dude, these prelims start at 6 a.m. This can be a great Saturday. Great Saturday. Start by 9. Kids don't have any sports. We're going to watch all this. And this card really screwed me over because the kids were like, this is what you're into? It was so boring. Oh, God, that main card sucked cock. Straight up, man. Sergey Pavlovich and Rosenstruck. It was like Francis and the Black Beast. You're like, what the fuck is it? It was so bad. Venom Page and Shara Bullet, I didn't mind, but you could tell maybe a minute, 32 minutes in, you're like, oh, Shara Magomedov is not an elite striker. This is going to be a terrible fight. And nothing's worse when a fighter's like, I was sick. You're like, oh, okay. That's why you couldn't get any timing going? It's not a health thing here. I hate when guys do this. And he might have a serious stomach issue or whatever. Even if he had 100% health, no those issues, he's just not on that level. And I like Shara Bullet. I think he's fun to watch. I don't think he's a world beater. I think we throw around this term world-class striker too much. Too much. Now, Venom Page legit has credentials as a world-class striker. So when you pair that up with a fun MMA striker, you see the difference. It's not the most exciting fight, but you see the difference. MVP was never in any jeopardy in any facet. Shara Bullet couldn't even touch him. You're just talking about different levels. It's like, we'll get to Strickland, but it's like Strickland for the UFC is an elite striker. Elite defensive striker. His defense is insane. In MMA, in boxing, like pro boxing, pro kickboxing, K1 style, he ain't shit, just so we know this, people. For the UFC, he's amazing. Amazing. World champion. But you see what happens when his style goes against a world-class guy. Alex Pereira. How'd that work out for him? He got knocked the fuck out. Now, he can get by, like with his best win against elite strikers, Izzy. Izzy's an elite striker. Izzy, for whatever reason, didn't show up that night. That was kind of the end-all, be-all for Izzy. He's never been the same since. You could tell Izzy still had more tools. He's a more well-rounded technician, more skilled, but just didn't show up that night, and Strickland's going to overwhelm you and beat him. Doesn't mean he's a better striker. It means he's better that night. But when all the chips are on the line, it's elite striker in prime condition versus an elite UFC fighter, and he's forced to strike, he's going to get dealt with. And this is what's going on with Venom Page. He's an elite striker. So you see him against Kevin Holland, right? They can't touch him. They can't figure him out. He's not a KO guy. It's just he's so good. He's competed at the highest level in striking for so long. Your MMA striking's, to them, like, what? It's like Tobey Maguire and Spider-Man when the guy's throwing, he's like, what the fuck? That's what this is for him. Wasn't a great fight. I was worried MVP was going to get screwed by the judges, but they did it right. 30-27. 29-28, I guess you could give Shara Bullet the last round, but that's just being nice. Card was terrible. Taking a little break here because it is a big weekend down under, kids. Strickland and DDP going back at it in the rematch. It's a big weekend. Get in all the action of the big fight. UFC 312 at DraftKings Sportsbook, the official sports betting partner of the UFC. All right, the middleweight men's and the women's strawweight titles will be on the line in the co-main events of UFC 312. And of course, pro football is crowning their champion at the big game. Is the Super Bowl Sunday?
I don't know. Do you
Is
guys
it?
know?
Yeah.
Wow, what a weekend. All right. My kid will probably have his Little League game. Oh, whatever, man. We'll figure it out. Just getting started. Pick a fight or a team to win this Super Bowl weekend, 312 weekend. Go to DraftKings app, make your pick. That's all there is to it. And if you're new to DraftKings, good for you. Listen up. New customers bet $5 to get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app right now. Use the code SHOP. That's code SHOP for new customers. Get $200 in bonus bets when you bet just $5. It's a big weekend. Super Bowl 312. Get you some. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 and over. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. New customers only. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio.
Let's talk about the main event. Imavov, Strickland's best win by far. Remember, Strickland beat him over 5 rounds. Easily. 50-45. Handled him. Izzy looked good too. Just like he did against DDP. He looks good and then it's over. Like he was beating DDP. I thought he had him. And then next thing you know, he gets hit one shot and it's over. You're like, what the fuck? I think, again, a lot of people that started watching UFC before COVID realizes how good Izzy is. You're talking arguably the best middleweight to ever do it. Sure as hell, bar none, number 2, and there's not a close third. Bar none, hands down. You got to remember, Izzy in his prime lapped the competition so bad multiple times. He fought everyone multiple times. Whitaker, Paulo Costa, fucking everybody multiple times. Had no issues. He lapped the competition so bad, they had to find a kid who beat him in kickboxing glory and move him up the ladder just to create some interest. Now, thank God that worked out. Now, Alex Pereira, but if Izzy wasn't so dominant, there's probably no Alex. This is a fact. If Alex didn't have that history with Izzy, and if Izzy wasn't dominating the middleweight division for a long-ass time, and there was other competition, Alex wouldn't have had the same easy path he had to get to who he is. They would have thrown him some dogs, and he probably had 1 or 2 losses coming up. But they fast-tracked him in order to create interest for Izzy because he was so dominant. Y'all must have forgot. Now you see him, and he's lost a few. I think for Izzy, the biggest mark for me where he's like, and it's always heartbreaking. It's always heartbreaking. But the biggest factor for me when I was like, oh, Izzy's reign's done is the Strickland fight. Not just because he lost, just because he wasn't present. It wasn't Izzy. The magic has left the building. Now, even though that magic might have left, Izzy's skill set's so goddamn good, he can probably still beat 95% of that division. But he can't beat the elite guys at the top. The top 5 are going to be tough for him. Even if he's not mentally checked in there, even though he's not firing all cylinders, he's so skilled and so damn good at mixed martial arts that he's still going to beat 95% of the division. But the days of him beating the elite are gone. And the Strickland fight showed that. It's just like, it's not there anymore. It's just not, that special sauce is gone. All good, though. This isn't a sad story. One of the greatest to ever do it. But it's over. Is he going to retire? No. Like I said, he can still beat 95% of the division. He can still do maybe 1 or 2 fun fights that we want to see. But as far as him competing with, the Stricklands, the Imavovs of the world, the Hamzats, the DDPs, that's over. That's over. That's over, unfortunately. Him fighting Alex at 205, that's over. But it's all good. It's all good. It depends what he wants to do. who are we to say you need to stop? Because, it's not like he's taking this horrible damage. If he wants to do 1 or 2 more, yeah, he deserves it. Give him super fights. Maybe out of the division. Something cool, But as far as like him being the contender and beating these top guys, those days are over. It happens to everybody. It's all good, man. What a career. What a fucking career. One of the best to ever do it. Arguably the best. One of the best. And you'll see online guys who are actually in the business who have fought. We all love Izzy. You see Mighty Mouse's reaction. You see a lot of guys' reaction, how they're sad, including me. The guys, there's certain fighters. Some of you guys don't want to hear this. There's certain fighters that get a lot of hate online, but the real fighters, the guys who've been in the trenches, who have actually fought in the UFC, fucking love them. Love them. Izzy's one of those people. Just off the top of my head, Izzy's one of those people. Brock Lesnar is one of those people. Great guy in the locker room. Awesome dude. Nothing like you see on TV. Awesome. Ronda was one of those. The women fighters, even the male fighters, loved Ronda. She was a beast. She was a good teammate. People loved her. Online, you think everyone hates her. No. Brock Lesnar, again, a lot of hate. This guy, awesome. Awesome guy. Izzy's one of those guys. Conor, not recently, not like these last 4 crazy shit years. When he was coming up, fighters loved him. There's certain fighters that they love and they want to see excel. The number one case, and everyone loves him, and I'm not saying that fans don't love him, but Max Holloway would be a fighter's fighter. It's that guy. You love him. No matter what, you love him. Izzy's one of those guys where you hate to see him. Like, it hurts when you see him lose because you know what he's going for. You know, he did everything right because you could smell the end is near. You can smell it. You can see it. Like, oh, is this it? Let's give him one more shot. He's going to do camp right. He had a bunch of distractions, had the DUI against DDP, all that stuff. Strickland just didn't show up. Let's do it right, man. He's going to get off social media. He's going to focus, had a 16-week camp. His team says the best camp. The fighter, when you get towards the end of your career, you all know exactly what Izzy's going through. And you want it for him so bad. You're like, oh man, I hope he pulls it off. That's why you see fighters like Mighty Mouse about to cry. Even it ruined my Saturday. You love that guy, man. There's certain guys that the fighters who fight love. Izzy's one of those guys. I know he paints his nails, talks about fucking his dog, whatever. No one gives a fuck. The fighters don't care about any of that shit. People love Izzy who are in the business. Love him. The commentators, Rogan, everyone loves Izzy. He's a fighter's fighter. Lesnar was one of those people. Ronda was one of those people. Conor in his prime was one of those people. Khabib. There's certain guys that the fighters love, man. Pettis. Certain guys, you just love them. You root for them. So you hate to see it. You just fucking hate to see it. Imavov's a bad motherfucker. But here's the thing. And I'm not taking away anything from Imavov, but he got Izzy at the perfect time. He lost the sauce with Strickland. We saw that. He lost DDP, and now you get him? Okay. You know what Izzy would have done to him in his prime? You know what Izzy would have done to Imavov in his fucking prime? So you got him. It's a good feather in the cap. You got him. For Imavov, he's still 1 or 2 away from a title shot. Imavov needs to beat a few guys. Because remember, it wasn't that long ago. This is how good Strickland is. Don't get it twisted. I know he says some wild shit. You might not like his fighting style, but don't get it twisted. Strickland went 25 minutes with him and beat the brakes off of him. Melted this dude on short notice. If you all remember. Remember, he lost to Cannonier, which I thought he won that fight. Lost decision to Cannonier. Then to redeem himself on short notice, he fought Imavov and beat the shit out of him for 25 minutes. Arguably the most impressive win of his career. Oh, what about Izzy? That wasn't the same Izzy. Good win. Great win, but that wasn't prime Izzy. Imavov's in his prime. Strickland took on short notice and dog walked that dude. So I remember that Imavov. Y'all can tell me he's the next champ and he beat Izzy. Cool. Just recently, not that long ago, Strickland dog walked him on short notice for 25 minutes. Y'all must have forgot. So he's about 1 or 2 away, at least 1 away from fighting for a title. I think DDP would dog walk him too, to be honest with you. DDP's a fucking tough one, man. Technique's not the best. He has this it factor. He's a big fucking dude, man. He's big. Big, solid fucking African dude, man. He's a problem. And just his mentality, he's a fucking problem. And this rematch, it sucks for Strickland. He has to go fucking back over there, right? They never let Strickland fight in America unless it's on short notice at the Apex and shit. So Strickland has to go back over there and fight DDP. I think it's the right choice because I thought nobody was robbed. If you want to argue that DDP won that fight, cool, you're right. I would argue that Strickland won that fight. Nobody was robbed. It was a close fight. I give it to Strickland. So I'd like to see the rematch. My issue with this fight, I don't have an issue with the fight, but with this fight is when you look at the first fight, if you look at what DDP had success, you look at Strickland's success, there's not much more Strickland can do with his skill set. Apply pressure, defensive striking, volume punching. He's gonna land more shots because he throws more shots, but he's not a power puncher. He's not gonna finish DDP. That's not happening. He's not a finisher. He applies pressure, wears you out over time. DDP knows this. He has the game plan for it. So if I'm looking at this with an unbiased viewpoint, after watching the first fight, DDP and his team, who's very smart, they have a lot more advantages going into this fight because they can do a lot more. And I don't know what more Strickland can do. I think DDP is going to use more of his wrestling because takedowns win rounds. This is going to be a decision. UFC 312 does suck balls, but I will tell you this. The result, you might have the same names that you had from the fight night last Saturday, but it's overall quality and excitement. There's no way it's worse than the fight night last week at 6 a.m. Guarantee that. That main card was atrocious. So it's going to be better than that. But your main event and your co-main event are probably going to be decision wins. The only way that main event is stopped is if DDP lands on Strickland, which is so tough to do. He's so good at defense. I like the battle of the elites and it's going back and forth. I enjoy that. It's just so tough to finish Strickland. Unless your name's Alex Pierre and he decides to strand with a world-class striker, then you're having problems. With Zhang Weili and Tatiana Suarez, talking about both haven't fought in a hot fucking second. They forced Suarez, who we've always said is the female version of Khabib, but with injuries and all the shit going on, she had such a long layoff. The UFC went, fuck it, she's 31. Let's see what happens. Both of them are old as fuck. Let's see what happens. Somebody become champ. You know, their new crop's coming. We don't have a long time with either of them. Let's do it. Long layoff, ring rust. Again, if that fight gets stopped, it's probably Tatiana Suarez submitting her in the second or third round. Outside that, you're getting a decision. Great fight. Rooting for Suarez all fucking day. But with DDP, he's just so physical and big and sturdy, and his cardio's better. And in his mind, he's beat Strickland before. His team's looking at that going, we could have scored points here. You could have done better here. You could have done better here. And there's a lot of room for improvement, even though he won. And for Strickland, there's not a lot to be said. With Strickland, you can't go, man, if you would have shot here, that's not what he does. Man, if you would have thrown leg kicks here, that's not what he does. The only thing you can really do is, since he's such a defensive fighter, when he circles out, he's still in defense. Maybe he can capitalize on that with some more action, but you're not going to knock DDP out. The problem is DDP, his fighting style, is the judges incorporate that, and just the look of it, it looks like he's dominating when he's not landing much on Strickland. That's how good Strickland is defensively, and he's blocking a lot of shots, but you have these moron judges who don't understand that. They don't understand MMA in any facet, let alone boxing defense. So for Strickland, he's up against the cards here, and you're fighting in Australia. It's a tough test for Strickland. And I thought he beat him the first fight. But DDP's such a physical specimen and has so much room for improvement. It's tough for Strickland. And now Strickland with his team, they're amazing. One of the best teams ever. Love Nick Sick. They're so good. So they're going to come up with some factors to maybe sway the rounds. I just don't know what you do to take over those rounds in a significant way. You can do little tweaks here and there, but not much. DDP can do a lot of tweaks, a lot of changes, and change the majority decision. And then Hamzat's waiting for you. And I think Hamzat DDP is a tough fucking fight for Hamzat. Nightmare for Hamzat. Hamzat's probably hoping Strickland wins, to be honest. Again, I'm not sold on Hamzat going past the third. You know? You get the Kamaru Usman fight, guys who are going to push the Strickland and DDP are by far Hamzat's worst matchups. Unless he can get him out there early, good luck finishing DDP early. Good luck finishing Sean Strickland early when it comes to grappling. It ain't happening. So for Hamzat, that's a big test, man. But he matches up worse with DDP. Big fucking strong dude. And is willing to go to the deep, dark waters. Hamzat, again, I'm not saying Hamzat can't. I just haven't seen it. And the 3 rounds that he's been in, he starts to fade at the end there. He really starts to fade. And they're talking about championship level with DDP. They know this. So they're not going to make huge errors in those first 2 rounds and then apply the pressure 3rd, 4th, and 5th. Oof. You guys would bet on Hamzat to beat DDP? I wouldn't. I think Hamzat's a dog in that fight. Strickland be tough for him too. Strickland's a fucking tidal wave man. His cardio just gets better and better and better. Tough fights for Hamzat. For DDP, you beat Izzy, you beat Strickland, you beat Whitaker, and if you beat Hamzat, we go in Sizzler, and you're going up to 205. Because he's a big-ass 85er. I usually don't like if Strickland says he's going to 205, when Izzy said it, I don't like it. Whitaker, I do like at 205. He's a bigger dude. DDP's built for 205. Enjoy that 205. This fucking hoss of an African who's big, strong, fast. The strength difference, he's probably going to have an advantage even there at 205. Good luck. So for DDP, it's going to be Hamzat's a minus 200 favorite.
This is October 2024.
Take my money. I put $5,000 on DDP on that fight. Let's see how he looks this weekend. But if he looks anything like you think, good luck. Good luck, Hamzat. Yeah, for DDP, this fight's so important because it just builds the neck. Boom, that it's Hamzat we've all been waiting for. And you're probably gonna have to fight in the Middle East. Sorry, dude. Even though you're champs, dim the rules. Sorry, man.
Dana did say
dim the rules. You know how, hey, be cool. You know how it goes. So he's gonna have to fight in the Middle East against Hamzat. You beat him. Now we're gonna jump across the pond. You're fighting for 205 belt and making all the money. That'd be a great run. It'd be so much fun to watch. Let's take a little break. Last one, kids, and we're jumping right back in this juicy-ass episode because this weekend you got 312. You got the Super Bowl. You're going to have some drinks. You got to celebrate or you got to drown your sorrows because the Chiefs are winning the damn big game again. I'm sick of it too. Have some drinks on me. But don't worry about being hungover. Don't worry about waking up the next morning like, what happened? I go to work. It's Monday. We got you. You got your companion. We're talking about Sure Shot. That's right. The world's first alcohol detoxifier that reduces blood alcohol content as low as 30 minutes. This is for real. Even Donnie right now is getting crunk about this commercial. That's right. When you use Sure Shot, you get sharper mind, body, liver support, well-being boost, gut support, hydration. They got it all. So have a few extra drinks. Maybe you're sick of seeing Patrick Mahomes win the damn game. Okay, maybe you want to just have a few beers and drown your sorrows because your Broncos suck. I was going to say something else because they're not good, all right? They're not good. They're not good. So, celebrate 312 in the Super Bowl and get your drinking companion by your side. We're talking about Sure Shot. Just go to SureShot.com, use promo code Brendan, save 10% off. Or you can go to your local BevMo or the TikTok shop, They got it everywhere. Go to sureshot.com, promo code Brendan. You're welcome. Let's get back to the program. What else you got, Jen?
As I was saying earlier, Dana White in the press conference, the post-fight press conference, said that someone asked him about Khamzat coming to the States, and Dana says now. He goes, yeah, he's
because Trump.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
So that could be a fight with Dricus or Strickland in the States, possibly.
That's good.
Yeah. Let's do this one. This one just came out. Ring Magazine said that Terrence Crawford versus Canelo Alvarez is likely happening in September for the Riyadh season, but in Vegas.
Wow, they're gonna do it in Vegas. Oh, that's the power of Canelo. His gal fight for you, but I only fight in Vegas. Wow, that's big. That's big. I assume Canelo be an underdog in that.
I could see real quick. Versus Crawford.
That's a big old fight. Boxing needed that, huh?
I mean, this one for sure is one that everyone wanted. Minus 185 favorite for Canelo, plus 155 underdog for Terrence. That's
close fight. I love both of them. I'll be cheering for Canelo though.
All right, some bout announcements. Brandon Moreno versus Steve Erceg.
It's a fun one.
Headline UFC Mexico City.
Boy, Erceg, they've just rushed that title shot. That's a good one for him, though. Yeah.
That's March 29th. And
all right.
Also, Kevin Holland goes back down to welterweight to fight Gunnar Nelson, which I haven't heard of in a long time. He's actually on a 2-fight win streak, which I didn't know.
He just hasn't fought in a while.
Yeah, since 23. So.
Yeah, Kevin Holland needs a win bad.
Yeah.
They're not going to cut him. He loses this one. They still won't cut him, but you're on. He's too much of a fan favorite. I hope they don't.
Okay. A couple more. Mauricio Ruffy, who's the guy that everyone compares to Conor McGregor.
Oh, yeah. He's fun.
He's a badass. He's going to fight King Green.
Oh, that's a great fight.
At UFC 3-on-3.
Wow. Sean Shelby been busy.
And then this is a rematch. Marvin Vettori versus Roman Dolidze. Vettori won the first one, but they will also be rematching in March.
Yeah, Vittori's been out for a hot second, too. See Mike Venom Page say he wants to go to 205?
Yeah. And what do you think of him fighting Yuri? That's he wants fun fights like that.
I love that for him. I love it for him because he doesn't have the ability to be champ at 85 or at 70, but I do think he has the ability to be just a superstar and just a fun guy. Kind of like a Cerrone or an Nate Diaz, like one of those guys, but he's obviously not as weathered as them. But at 205, remember, you typically at 170, went up to 85 just for the fucks of it to fight Shara Bullet. Beat him easily, didn't get touched. He's like, I'll go up to fucking 205 fight Yuri. I'm all about it as long as they're not like, right, after Yuri, here's Jan. It's like, well, that's not what I'm doing. Whoa, be cool. Him versus Yuri is great.
Strikers, yeah, that's why.
It has to be strikers.
Yep.
Do that. He's a superstar. Great dude, too. Superstar.
Yeah. And he mentioned, too, on, I think, the post-fight conference, that, because he's so flashy and so amazing, but he says he still has that feeling of being in the UFC. Like, he can't really, he wants to win,
UFC jitters are real, bro.
Yeah.
Unless you're Dominic Cruz. Listen to Dominic, not me, but I would say UFC jitters are real unless you're an absolute monster like Dominic Cruz.
Dominic Cruz, yeah.
But it's real. You're in the big show.
This one as well.
Your local play to Broadway, okay?
What?
Nothing.
So Alejandro Pantoja, reportedly, he's going to fight Kai Kara-France at UFC 314.
Man, I wish I cared.
I hear you, dude. How about this, man? We haven't seen this guy in a long time. A Tyrone Spong. Remember he had a shaved head? He's got a huge, long locks. Tyrone Spong.
Who's inspo? Jesus Christ. He grew some locks.
Dude, he looks
gorgeous.
Yeah, looks crazy.
My word.
But so Karate Combat posted this. He is interested in doing Karate Combat because he's a great kickboxer. And it'll fit. So he's down to do that. I'm trying here, Brandon. I'm trying.
Yeah.
So Rashad Evans, apparently he was added to the GFL draft, and he said that he didn't actually. He didn't co-sign. He was like, they just put it up there.
Oh, weird. I work for the GFL, so I was there. I know how this goes.
Okay.
Love Rashad. Rashad, you know this. Now let me speak some truth on how it went down. Also, this thing, like Rashad Evans trashes GFL. Didn't trash GFL.
No, it didn't. He didn't trash.
Here's how this goes, y'all. You're crazy if you think Darren, the guy who runs the GFL, would just randomly put fighters' names to get drafted without their consent. You can't do that. It's a terrible look. What he deals with, he doesn't deal with the fighters one-on-one. Some of them he does. Other fighters, like Rashad, have their agents deal with it. The agents represent many big-name fighters. Darren, I saw with my own eyes, got consent from Rashad's manager that he was in for the draft. So is this a GFL issue or is this a management issue on Rashad's part? Now, to be fair to Rashad, who I absolutely love and adore and did a lot for my career, Rashad, you know this. I'm not hating on Rashad. Rashad might not be aware of any of this, and the manager's like, yeah, he's in, and didn't know that he has a boxing match with Rampage in New Mexico at a bar down there. Again, no shade. It looks like a bar on the promo. I don't know. I love Rashad and Rampage. I'm just being silly. Yeah. I don't know what it is. Like a fucking Alamo bar thing. Do you, bro? People are going to love it. I hope you make $1 billion. When it comes to GFL, I saw the names. I saw the communication between managers and the head of GFL. So he's assuming, again, it's not Darren's job at GFL. He's dealing with your representation. If your agent, your representative, tells the owner of a fight league you're down to fight, you assume they're aware of it, they're down to fight. This isn't a GFL problem. This is the agent management problem. And again, it might even be a Rashad problem. He might have been in fucking Florida eating vegan, doing what the hell he's doing, and they just added his name and he had no clue. It could be that. So then he's like, I'm not. Let me be clear. The only commitment I have is to lay your ass out in April. That's the fight in the Alamo bar place. I was added to this without my consent. You ain't off the hook that easy. I was added to this without my consent. Wrong. Because your agent has the power to give your consent and he gave the consent. So GFL added you to the roster board. You got drafted. Any other brain busters? Love you, Rashad. So any of these fighters be like, I had no clue. Well, your agent did. I saw the communications. So the GFL brass is assuming that your agent talked to you. It's not the GFL's brass job to call you and make sure that your agent who takes 10% confirmed all this with you. What else you got?
Okay, this is just for fun. I know it's not happening, but it's in the news. So Pereira was asking to fight Alexander Usyk in a boxing crossover match
right now.
I know, dude. There's like nothing. There's like nothing popping other than the fight that's coming up this weekend. But I mean, obviously, it's just like fairy tale thing. But
yeah, not happening. What else you got, man?
Okay, you know what? It's all downhill from here. So
seems like in other news, Alex Pereira believes in unicorns. What's your thought on that?
How about this? Ivanka Trump. Just kidding. I'm gonna go.
Loves her some Brazilian jiu-jitsu.
Yeah. So let's end with this one as far as current events. This is so Piotr Jan and Aljamain Sterling are doing some sort of like tough reality thing, but Russian version. Merab was supposed to do it, but he couldn't do it. So then now Aljamain's replacing him. So this is Jan doing a fun little thing with Aljamain. He gave him an Oscar for.
That's funny.
For Niam.
That's where all the hate on Aljo started.
Yeah,
And
but that's
just
cool.
got nasty from there. You're dealing with Russian bots. Poor guy. Is that it, Chin?
That's it, man. That's it.
Enjoy the pay-per-view this weekend, 7 p.m. Pacific time. I will be in Austin, Texas, doing the Fight Companion with Mr. Joseph Rogan, Brian Callen, Matt Serra. It's supposed to be with Joey Diaz. Joey is actually sick, so they got Matt Serra filling in, who I absolutely adore. That's going to be a great time. So check out the Fight Companion on JRE YouTube. Then it'll be available on Spotify shortly after. That's going down this weekend, man. Enjoy the fights. If you're at Kings of the Hammer, I will be there on Thursday with my swap Power Stroke 6.0 Hummer. It's finally done. Fingers crossed. Tying up some loose ends today and tomorrow. But We'll be debuting it at Kings of the Hammer this Thursday. So if you're around, you're out there, come say what's up. I'll be with the team. Bruno from Sig Motorsport, all of us, the whole team that built this badass Hummer will be out there. We'll be at the King's booth, King Shock's booth. I'll be all over. Come say what's up. We'll be there Thursday all day. I fly out Friday. So that's it, man. All right, kids. Love you. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Missed you guys. Sorry I missed last week. Love you. I'm out.